You know Brian Hayes from OverDrive, so the Leafs have an opening behind the bench after firing Sheldon Keefe. We want to hear your list. Who are the top 3 candidates, your wish list, that you'd like to see, behind the bench for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
All right, I have a 3-pack, but I will say it's thin. I really have a 2-pack, but I'm going to give you a third guy. Todd McLellan is at 3. Okay, and the reason I say that is because he has been on a cup-winning team before, a cup-winning bench. When he was in Detroit, when he was in San Jose, he went deep a couple of times, and he's a veteran coach that I think will handle this market well, right? He has coached in a Canadian market before in Edmonton. So I have Todd McLellan at 3, but it's really a 2-man list. Craig Berube at 2. Cup winner. He's a former Leaf. He was actually involved in that Gilmore trade, and I think he has the right temperament for this team. I think they need an attitude change. I think they need a different voice, and I think Craig Berube sets up beautifully for it, and he is at number 2. At number 1, because it's my list, Rod Brind'Amour. All right, I have Rod Brind'Amour. He still is not signed long-term in Carolina. So as far as I'm concerned, he's willing to listen. No one has more money in the National Hockey League than the Maple Leafs. They proved that 8.5 years ago when they went out and got Mike Babcock and said, here you go, Mike, biggest contract in NHL history. I'd say double down and go get Brind'Amour. Get his staff, get the trainers, get the stick boy, get the water girl. It doesn't matter. Bring them all up. Go down to Carolina, private bird, and fly Brind'Amour up. So I have Rod Brind'Amour at number 1.
You didn't mention Joel Quenneville. His name's been out there. I mean, he may have to still be reinstated by the league, but any thoughts of Quenneville? And what about Bruce Boudreau? Because he's a guy who's coaching a Canadian market, and his team's never really had trouble scoring, and that's been an issue for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah, I'd like to see Bruce maybe as a part of the staff. I don't know if he's leading the charge necessarily. I don't know if that's where he is in his career. Quenneville's such a different story because it comes down to whether or not the league would even allow it, and then would the Maple Leafs allow it? And that's going to go all the way up the chain, right? It's not only about whether he can coach.
Right.
We know he can coach, whether or not Brad Treliving would be supportive, but will ownership be willing to move down that road? If we're talking about Quenneville simply as a coach, and it's never that simple, obviously his history speaks for itself.
All right, so we hear about the names you're excited about, especially Rod Brind'Amour maybe. But in the end, does it matter who's behind the bench? I mean, Leafs Nation was excited for Randy Carlyle, Mike Babcock, even Sheldon Keefe they liked for a period of time. Whoever's behind the bench next, is it going to make a big difference for the Leafs?
Yes, it's going to matter. It absolutely matters. Like being a coach, again, you're the voice of this team. You're going to have to implement systems. You're going to have to find a way to get this team to score goals in the playoffs, Glenn. They have gone 14 straight playoff games where they have not scored 4 or plus goals. 14 straight. So someone's got to come in and figure out how the best goal scorer in the world starts scoring in the playoffs and helps him out, gets the special teams going, gets the attitude moving in more of a Stanley Cup direction. So, yes, it matters. Is it everything? Of course not. It never is with coaching in any sport. I'd say 90 to 95% of whatever the results are going to be, it's on the players. So the players have got to change, in my opinion, and the ones that are coming back, they have to have a different approach. But the coach still counts, and absolutely it matters, and it will have a tangible effect on how this team plays moving forward.
Well, the favorite to be the next Leafs head coach on FanDuel, Craig Berube. Behind him, Dean Evison, Gerard Gallant, Joel Quenneville, and Todd McLellan.